Hi, my name's Steve Marvel. This is Crucial Survival. And today we're going to talk with Sarah and Emma from Life Reset. This is a group that's currently doing day one of a Give Up 7 sugar for 7 days. And I'm joining with them. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Hi.
Sarah, can you tell us a bit about Life Reset and what it is and why it is and why and when it started?
Yeah, I'm not really sure why I started, to be honest with you, but I started training. I'm a massage therapist initially, and then I got into health and wellness coaching. I've done a small qualification in that, and that piqued my interest into how I can how I can help people to change their ways in all sorts of ways throughout life, whether it's nutrition, which is what Emma's sort of delving into, or just changing habits within their life to better themselves. And so I thought I'll just start a group up and just see who's out there and just to exchange ideas and get involved with other therapists, which is I think how me and Emma sort of ended up hooking up, because I did a morning motivation thing on a Monday and she would come along to that. And so that's kind of how it started.
So how did the idea for a sugar-free challenge? Oh, you do regular challenges, don't you?
Well, this is our first one, so we've just started. This is the first challenge, and then I've got 1,000 ideas of other things we can do, from cold shower challenge to
that sounds awful.
Other ones, drinking water challenge. Just little tiny things that you do. And I thought if you just parcel them up in little ways, then people are more likely to get involved instead of doing like a massive challenge that somebody probably A, hasn't got the time for, or B, the interest to.
Yeah, and then you end up with that is insurmountable looking problem.
Yeah,
and it's nice to form habits slowly.
Exactly. Yeah, there's more of a sort of awareness thing, really. Just to sort of, that's how I wanted it to be. Just to sort of note it. I realised I was eating a lot of sugar recently, and I thought if I could just notice when I'm eating sugar, then that's part one of the challenge right there.
Yeah,
achieved.
Got you. Emma, can you tell us a bit, because it seems that you're championing this section, about the preparation?
Sarah's definitely leading the way on the sugar-free challenge, and it's her idea, so I don't want to take credit for Sarah's great initiative and leadership in this. But I suppose Sarah very kindly invited me to join her group, and then she kindly made me an admin of the group too, which was very nice. So I certified as a health coach and life coach actually last September. Goodness, a year ago already. It took me a year to do that qualification while I was already employed and while we're on lockdown, so I had child at home a lot. Anyway, during that qualification, I learned about setting oneself up for success when we go about any sort of health challenge. Because a lot of people, when you talk to them about losing weight or getting healthier, they know they need to eat more veg. They know they need to move more. They know what they need to do and what they need to eat, but the struggle is how to get them to do it. And they know they struggle with how to get themselves to do it. So Sarah's idea of having a little challenge is great, but there's the mantra of, is it plan to fail? No, fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you don't really think things through thoroughly and you just go in sort of willy-nilly, don't really know what you're doing.
Which was exactly what I was going to do until you jumped in, Emma. So thank you very much for that.
Well, I know. So it all depends on personality types, really. And as a health coach, that's one of the things we're meant to actually try and gauge with clients is whether there's someone who likes to have lots of rules and this is how you do it, or whether they prefer a more laid back approach and just generally become more healthier, generally doing more stuff, but not kind of ticking boxes and measuring every bit of the way as you go along. But so I don't know if I've answered your question. I think haven't I?
I wouldn't have said that was a waffle. I waffle significantly more than that. By the way, if anybody's watching, we've got some questions, then do throw them in the comments and we'll ask them. There are 5 videos on the Life Reset group, and they are like you did one, and you did one, and you did one, and so I'm going to start with Emma. I believe you did the first video, which was what is the underlying motivating factor, and the importance of that.
Yeah, so this was probably one of the first big lessons I had with my health coach training, was identifying your client's underlying motivating factor, the why underneath the why. So initially they might be thinking, yeah, I want to give up sugar because it'd be good for my health, or maybe I eat too much sugar. But sometimes if you don't really dig deeper into your reasons, your motivation won't be as high when the going gets tough. And B, I think asking yourself questions about why you want to do something and going that bit deeper helps with your own self-awareness and understanding, the bigger picture in life. And that is a good thing to have if you're thinking about self-development, or, kind of stepping towards the better version of yourself that is often talked about in the coaching world. So you're more likely to be committed to your cause if you're more aware of your cause. So when people realize, for example, that, if I don't sort this out now, I could gain lots of weight or possibly end up with type 2 diabetes. And then I won't be so mobile in like 10 or 20 years time when I might have grandchildren. I'm going to be that burden to the NHS, or it might be that, I don't know, all sorts of reasons.
But it's the why beyond the why, as you say. There's something that rings kind of true with me, which is what I'm trying to get out there. Is it in classical survival training, they teach you to survive, like right here, right now, we're trying to survive, we're trying to keep warm, we're trying to keep hydrated. But the reality in a survival situation is not that you're merely trying to stay alive, it's that you have a goal of getting home. You don't have the goal of surviving, you have the goal of seeing your loved ones again and eating chocolate maybe, or whatever it might be. There exists that goal, and when we're training, the importance of that goal in mind is huge. And to shelter yourself into the single why, if you like, I'm just trying to stay alive, it's not enough. It's not enough, and it rings true, obviously with all sorts of things. I'm glad you've mentioned it. And this is something else that I do. This is Sarah, is the second video that I saw was the detailed mental rehearsal, which very intriguing. Can you tell us about that?
Well, you might want to step in on this one again, Emma, because you gave me all the ideas anyway. But basically, it's just when you need to achieve a goal, achieve a task, like a sports person wanting to achieve whatever they're being sports person in, like a runner or what have you. If they go through the motions in their mind beforehand, they're more likely to achieve that outcome in the end, because they've programmed their brain to think that way, that neurons will be firing correctly. If you, like Emma mentioned to me before, when you're trying to talk to someone who wants to take up running, you'll get them to imagine putting their shoes on, which shoes they're going to wear, what clothes are they going to wear, what time are they going to leave, down to every minute detail to them actually leaving the house and running. And it seems to work. So it gets people just firing those neurons, getting it all moving, and then they're more likely to actually follow through with the task and achieve their goal.
It's simply the goal, because I seem to remember a study. I think you mentioned it in the oh great, motorbikes. This is perfect timing for motorbikes.
I can't hear him.
You can't.
No, I can't hear him.
I think you mentioned the study whereby the people actually gained strength through the process of rehearsal, which is physiologically quite strange. I've used mental rehearsal in the context of emergency services. I not only are we trained and practiced, but have mental exercise of approaching a novel situation in the mind and how one might deal with that. And I've found that is a calming influence, but not necessarily with the particular situation. But I feel that in an emergency situation that I found myself calmer by rehearsing others. And that whole business of how that works is fascinating. I literally have no idea how that works. That's witchcraft as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I find it, because on that morning motivation thing we do like a section of visualization, and because I'm sort of person who'll just run headlong into stuff and not think about it and then get there and go, what am I doing? But it's like actually forcing yourself to sit down and think, okay, I want to achieve that this week, thinking how you're going to do it and just really focusing on it. And it, like you say, it just calms you down, makes you realize it is possible, and you generally end up getting there in the end instead of just running around like a headless chicken like I previously done. So there's witchcraft, like you say, Steve.
I just how the body is going to get stronger and more efficient or more focused. It's just
there have been studies. There have been studies that have shown, the experiment where the party that didn't go to the gym but just did a really detailed mental rehearsal, not just all the actions, but how they would feel. They imagined the sweat. They imagined what they would hear in the gym, what they might smell in the gym, what they would see in the gym. They imagined everything, and also contracting the muscles. And they had a 13% increase in their muscle mass. 13%. Whereas the group that actually went to the gym, they did have a bigger muscle increase because they actually did the exercise. But it went to show that if you mentally rehearse and do your physical workout, you get the best results. And that's why Michael Phelps and all those guys, they do detailed mental rehearsal as well as the actual physical practice to get to where they're getting to. And,
it's incredible to suppose that is
musicians do it as well.
Musicians as well.
Pianists will imagine all the. Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I follow quite a lot, and I follow his books. He does a lot of mental, synaptical neuron type work in the brain, and visualizations and all that sort of thing. He talks about how pianists will rehearse in their minds all the movements of their fingers, and that helps their performance as well as actually practicing piano itself.
It's incredible. I found piano very difficult as a child. Maybe I should have thought about it harder. Now, I think the third video was you, Emma.
It was me.
Yes, and that was about planning. That was the plan to fail. No. Anyway, failure to plan is planning to fail. What do you think there's a level of planning? Is there too much planning? Is there not enough planning? Where does one find that kind of balance?
Probably different for different types of personalities and for whatever project you're doing. I think if it's something that is going to be quite complex and the objective you need to achieve is harder, then planning usually helps a lot of the time. I prefer to plan something like this because I could say I'm going to give up sugar, but not really know to what extent I'm giving up sugar. So like when I saw the slice of bread on the counter today, I knew whether that was within my allowance or not within. And I thought, no, I told myself I'm not going to eat bread this week.
I see, because it is some form of carbohydrate that was ultimately.
Yeah, I wrote it down on my sheet here that I was not going to have starchy. Well, I'll have potatoes, but I'm not having things like bread and pasta, that sort of thing. I'll have a carbohydrate if it's more complex or if it's a vegetable.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because I want to know where I'm starting and stopping. Because otherwise, you think, well, should I eat that? Should I not? And then I think you're not enjoying yourself. You're not feeling like you're smashing it if you're winning.
Yeah.
If you don't know where you're starting and stopping.
Yeah, my view of this challenge, which I'm taking on as well, is that I'm not going with added sugar, blatant sugar, and where sugar is in like the first 5 ingredients. If there's a little bit of added sugar in the ingredients, then I'm not going to beat myself up about it.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not going to deny myself fruit, for instance. But yeah, there's obviously levels, and I didn't really think about that as a plan. For me, it felt like a scope, but yeah, it without that scope, equally you're setting yourself up for failure, like you say.
Well, the other part of that, which maybe I could have made into a 6th point, and maybe would have been a better 5th point than the statement of intent, but is setting up accountability. Because if we set ourselves up with some form of accountability, we're more likely to follow through. Whether that accountability is having a geeky chart like the one that I did, I need to put my smiley face on it, but I haven't quite got through to the end of Monday. But I've eaten everything that I planned to today, and not eaten the things on the naughty list today. So I think I get that star or that sticker or whatever I'm going to put in there, and go, yay, I did it. So that wonderful feeling of success that I did it, which means if I think about having another sugar-free day in the future, I'm more likely to do it again. So that having that feeling of reward and success that you did it really helps thinking, actually, it wasn't so bad, it was good. I'm happy about this giving up sugar malarkey. And if you've got a chart and you see ticks appearing in it, or filling up your chart with smiley faces or crossing days off a calendar, you have that visual record and you feel like you're making progress, and that feels good as well. And that's why I also talked about putting marbles in a jar, or something where you see a visual, or coins. Someone talked about putting like pound coins in a jar. You'd only get 7 pound coins on this week, but if you're doing it for a whole 12 weeks, like the program that I'm developing for my high ticket clients is a 12-week program. So if they put a quid in a jar for every day they get through it, they'll have quite a lot of money by the end. They'll have 90 quid.
Yes,
they can buy themselves something nice with that.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Or you could use paper clips, or coffee beans, or something I'm winning at this, I'm doing this, and they can talk to their husband or someone at home and say, I'm winning at this.
We in the writing community, we have accountability partners, whereby even if it's just a text message, it's like, hey, I wrote 500 words, or I did the second draft of this chapter, or whatever it might be. And it's not, it sort of is a guilt in that it's like, if I've done nothing, I feel guilty to have that conversation with a lack of progress. And it's a weirdly negative motivating factor, but it motivating all the same. So who did the final video? Oh no, there was sensory reminders, wasn't there?
Yeah, sensory reminders in your physical environment. So it pretty much tells you what it means. But I personally just put post-it notes up and change certain things, like I'll stop having tea in the afternoon, because I'll usually scoff a biscuit with some tea after I've done some work, and just start moving things around a bit, just so you're reminded in that instant. They're going, oh, I'm going for it, and it stops you in your tracks, or swap things over in the cupboard.
I seem to remember that you had something on the handle of the door and something behind on the actual thing that you're not supposed to eat. I can't remember what it was, but it was there.
Yeah.
And I did the same with my baking cupboard. With all my,
Ooh,
I have a baking cupboard, and I put a notice up, which is basically don't open this, or you'll be in trouble, because it's so simple to just grab a handful full of something when they're just there and they're in front of you. And that's something that somebody mentioned on the group today, which was very out of sight, out of mind. And I don't generally keep biscuits in the house, for instance, so I don't eat them. And I know it's very difficult for people with children, say, to not, and husbands, to not have biscuits, chocolate, crisps, whatever it might be, and they are just there, tempting, and that must be harder.
Yeah,
especially when you hoover up their dinner as well, don't you? You know, you've got like a bit of leftover that, I'll have that. When you're bothering my own dinner, I'll just eat yours.
In terms of developing habits so that we can make things easier for ourselves, it is in designing your environment so that it works for you, so temptation is not in your way all the time. So even if, like me, you live with two boys who like their biscuits, their chocolate, their ice cream, and their sausages, which I'm not keen on. I try to put those, well, the chocolate anyway, goes right at the back of the fridge behind the jar of sauerkraut. So I'm not going to see it when I open up the fridge, but I do see the pepper sticks, or I do see something that I am allowed to have. In my training, the suggestion was put biscuits in the garden shed or in the garage or somewhere like that, but I don't think you're going to get.
Or in my case, presently, that they're unbaked. They're like a deconstructed baked. It is an actual effort rather than like, I fancy a biscuit. It's like, now I've got to bake them. But unfortunately, when baking biscuits, you don't just make enough for a small session with a cup of coffee.
They go eat them quick as well because they're fresh. Go eat them quick.
Absolutely. So, day one, I've not had a great deal of a problem because I've done this sort of thing before, and I don't eat a great deal of sweet things. How are you finding it? How has the preparation helped you, Sarah?
Well, I've just been massively aware of, you're sort of hanging around in the kitchen for 5 minutes, not really doing very much, and you're just like, oh, there's some sweets over there. And I've caught myself so many times. I know I won't do it because I know I'm on the challenge, but just the thought is in my head, oh, I'll do that. I don't even like sweets that much, but they're just there. And I was like, I'll shove one in my face. And I nearly put sugar in my coffee. I don't even drink coffee. Someone gave me a coffee and I was like, I'll have some sugar with that. And I was like, no, I can't have sugar. You realise how many times you do just grab something and eat it without even thinking about it, without even really wanting it. And that was my aim for this. So it's highlighting when I'm eating sugar and making me realise that I don't actually need it at all.
Yeah, and forming that habit.
Unforming that habit.
Quite, I guess. And they're very much more difficult to break than make, I guess. Emma, how have you found today?
Fine. Yeah. Like Sarah said, with all the build-up we've had, there was no excuse for forgetting, really, that it was happening today. I think the only more challenging time I had actually was this afternoon, when I often do have a bit of a natural sugar dip, sort of blood sugar dip, that sort of lull at about 3-4 o'clock. And I was feeling a bit stressed about various things, and I find this happens when you have a bit of an emotional emptiness and hassles, and your brain has been hardwired for years to find relief from emotional pain and strain through something nice and sweet and sugary. We're hardwired this way from the baby stage, when our mums give us some nice sweet milk to make us happy again. So all the way up through to adulthood. If we're feeling stressed, we want to reach for, and I was thinking, oh, I really fancy one of those biscuits. But I had a bowl of nuts out on the counter, redesigning my environment, bowl of like Brazil nuts and macadamias and hazelnuts. And so I just had about 3 or 4 nuts, not quite as exciting as chocolate, but healthier, I said to myself. And then I had my son's teddy bear, because sometimes we're looking for emotional comfort. My son was at nursery, and I'm trying to be healthy so I can live longer and be more able for him when he gets older. So I look at the teddy bear and I think about how much damage the sugar is doing to my arteries if I were to have that and stuff, versus the healthy nuts, and feel comforted by the teddy bear. And then the craving goes, and then I get on with my afternoon again. Yes, I thought I'd share that because that is something I come across. But because I knew I was on the challenge, I didn't give in to the sugar. I think if I wasn't on the challenge, I would have maybe grabbed a chocolate biscuit.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have a question. I wonder, I suppose, Sarah, is giving up sugar for this week, and in fact any of the other challenges that you're proposing, are they about, in this case, the health benefit, or are they about achievement and completing challenges? What is the direction that you're looking in a sort of life coach, health coach? Where is challenge sitting in that?
It's more introducing the idea, I think, initially. Giving up sugar for 7 days isn't going to make a massive amount of difference. But if you have one less chocolate bar a week after that because you did the challenge, then you've improved in some way.
Yeah.
So I guess in answer to your question, it's I don't know really. I think just having the preparation was important. I think Emma was absolutely genius at doing that, because that really highlighted and kind of made it more important. And then along with that, the challenge itself is just part of it. That's the thing that you're gonna take from it. At the end of the week, you will have completed the challenge and you'll feel good about it.
Yeah. And then another one and another one. And then the ability to perform challenges within training that we do, they're really, really big things. And if you do a little bit, that's great. And then you do another one, that's great too. And it's like, I have achieved. And sometimes you don't. But you've had this catalogue of things that you did, and you can progress, and you can do them longer, you can do them differently, and that is quite a recipe for success in maybe emergency services training, in survival training, in personal life, and you see that connections all building. And I think it's great performing these challenges. So I wonder, you could tell us, how do people get involved with Life Reset and taking part in the challenges that you're proposing?
Well, they just go on Facebook into the groups area and just type in Life Reset. It will come up, and just join up. It'll ask you a couple of questions, and then you can come on in and join the gang. We're a merry folk. There's some characters in the group, yourself included, Steve.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so it's open to all, and it's just a nice group of supportive people trying to make a difference to themselves and each other.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been enlightening for me to see the crossovers with the things that I do and what you're doing. And I went through all of that preparation myself. And I think it does make a difference to me. And I think it will make a difference to anybody. And if somebody wants that, I guess, that sugar-free challenge, you just start on day 2
Yeah,
and then do another day on the end.
exactly. We had some people starting last week because they got a bit confused. So fine, let's do it whenever.
Well, in that case, I shall bid you farewell, and I will see you when I see you next.
Lovely. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's been a pleasure. It's been
Thank
fun.
you.
Thank you.